thanks for joining us. Us. This me and Stanley, and he's photobombing today. I've been with Aflac for a long time, and I love what I do. So if I can be of assistance to you, be sure to let me know. Then I would like to first go through the claims process, because if you have a claim, it's important that you get your claims done. As long as you've had your policy, you can go back as far as you can up to your effective date, and we can do a claim. And if you need help, be sure to let me know. The claims process is pretty easy. There's an app you can put on your phone called Smart Claim, and then you just kind of upload it and all the information that they need, and you can have your money in your bank account the very next day. So that's really very nice. All right, the next thing I'd like to do is go through all of the products.
Let's get started. The first policy we need to talk about is the short-term disability. The reason you would need some short-term disability is because if you are sick or injured while you have this policy, you can it's called paycheck insurance. And so that does cover some of your bills and things that we can't go quite out to 100% of your wages, but we can go to about 70%. So if you'd like to participate in this one, this is for paycheck insurance. That does include having babies or going to the hospital for other things. It also includes if you roll your four-wheeler out in the sand dunes and you break your arm and you can't work, anything that takes you out of work due to a sickness or an injury, you would have a little bit of a waiting period, and then you would have a benefit period. And you can elect how long or how short your waiting periods are and how long or how short your benefit periods are. So the term of your disability. This brochure is broken up into different benefits. So you have Tier 1, you have a subsequent Tier 1 critical illness, and then you've got Tier 2 critical illness, and then you have a coronary artery bypass surgery. So the first one, the Tier 1 critical illness, is when you're diagnosed with any of these 15 things over here on the right side, you would receive $5,000. So you do a claim on the onset of your event, and then you can just, that money is yours. And the money that you use as paying your bills or whatever you want to do, and you might have some left over. This is a very good little policy. It's very inexpensive, and it does cover a lot of things that are kind of scary. The subsequent Tier 1 piece of this is a $3,000 benefit, and it's a recurrence of the same Tier 1 event or an occurrence of a different Tier 1 event. But the benefit isn't payable on the same day as the Tier 1. So let's say you have a heart attack, and then 4 months later you have another heart attack. Then that second one would be a $3,000 benefit to you. Then, if you have a encephalitis or a cystic fibrosis, or you're diagnosed with cerebral palsy, any of those 9 diseases, you would receive $1,000 on the onset of whenever they diagnose you with any of these things. The best part of this one is that you don't think about ever getting any of these things, but when you do, you almost always need some extra cash. And if you do have cash in the bank, that's great, but that's a lot of hard work that you've got in there, and Do you really want to spend it on something like this? Or do you want to pay just a little bit of amount, and then when something like this happens, then you have a claim and you can get some money? So it's up to you. You just have to let me know. The $2,000 coronary bypass graft surgery is $2,000, and then, but this is only paid once per person per lifetime. We only have 2 more left, and this cancer plan is, we'll start with the very beginning benefit. It's the cancer screening. On this level, it's level 2, you would receive a $75 benefit per calendar year per person. That means that if you've got you and your spouse and your children, and let's say you've got 2 children, that would be $150 for you and your spouse and $150 for each of the children. So that's a benefit of $300 every year that you can get back on this cancer screening. So it's a nice benefit. If you want to go up to level 4, you can. The only difference is that the rate will change. Well, the rate changes, but the dollar amount will be more, and then but all of the benefits are the same. So the cancer screening, it will say cancer screening on a level 4 as well, but it would be $120 benefit per calendar year per person. So that's kind of how that works. And as we go down here, I did add in the initial diagnosis, the builder rider. So what this one says is that insured your spouse, you'd get $4,000. Dependent child, you would have $8,000 for a diagnosis of cancer. Now, you might wonder why the children, that's a double amount of yourself and your spouse. But the logic behind that is that if your child has a cancer, then often your spouse or yourself will want to go with that child. Well, somebody's got to drive them there, especially if they're a child, but you can have children on here until age 26. So they may or may not take themselves, but you probably want to go with them. And the spouse often will stay home with the other children or come with you. So it's just a big emotional support system that we all do when it's our children. So that's why they pay double the amount for children. That amount does build every year by $500. So it's an increase every year, and in 10 years you would have an additional $5,000 for the initial diagnosis. But once you're diagnosed with the cancer, then that builder stops, and it'll stop right where it is. It doesn't drop off, but it doesn't build anymore either. There's a second opinion benefit, there's chemotherapy benefit, radiation, hormone therapy, blood and plasma. Skin cancer surgery that's really nice. Not a lot of cancer policies have that. And hospital confinement benefit, outpatient surgery benefits. Next one will be the accident plan. This again is option 2, and we have the initial hospitalization benefit of $1,000, or of at least an 18-hour stay. You have to be admitted into the hospital at least 18 hours. And if you're admitted into the intensive care unit, it's more. And then the hospital confinement benefit is $200 a day. And then you can see the intensive care benefit. The treatment benefit is when you go to seek treatment. If you walk into your physician office or an urgent care and they say, you know what, you just need stitches, you don't really need an x-ray, so that would be $120 to you. Then if you do need an x-ray, it'd be $150. Or if you go to the emergency room and don't need an x-ray for an accident, that'd be $170. Or if you go to the emergency room and you do get an x-ray, then that's a benefit of $200. Keep in mind, it doesn't matter what your co-payments or your deductibles are. Aflac will just pay what they say they're going to pay, and they really do. And they can go fast. If you set up your direct deposit information beforehand and you submit it through your app, you can get next day pay on a lot of these. If you can get it submitted before 6 o'clock Eastern time, then what happens is it will hit your bank, the money will hit your bank account the next day. So it's nice to have a deposit right when you need it, because you're not feeling good, you need to just order sandwiches or something for your family, and you don't really want to get up and move around. So it is a nice way to do it. The appliances are things like canes, crutches, back brace. They line it out how much money you would get if you needed one of those. That you do have to have on the doctor's note that you need one, but they will pay money for that. Even if you have crutches in your garage already, Aflac will still pay you $50 for crutches, and you're using your old ones that you've already paid for, but Aflac will still pay you $50, which is nice. A therapy visit is like physical therapy, occupational therapy, or speech therapy. Then down here we have the home modification benefit, which is brand new this year. And if you need let's say a temporary ramp or a permanent ramp, hopefully not permanent, but if in an accident you hurt yourself so badly you need a ramp, and your friends say, oh, you know what, I'll come and help put it in, and somebody else says, you know what, I've got all this lumber laying around over at my place, I'll just donate it. Even if everything is donated to you, you still get $2,000 for putting in a ramp. You have to have that note from your doctor, but Aflac will pay you $2,000. So if you have an old accident policy and you want to upgrade it, that's great. If you want to just keep the one you have, that's great too. So you get to pick. Now, the accident-specific sum injury benefit is kind of a summary of some of the things that you can get paid. So if you have a dislocation or an emergency room dental work, or if you end up being a quad or a paraplegic, hopefully none of those things ever happen, but if you look at the quadriplegic benefit, it's $10,000. The broken tooth, it does have to be a healthy tooth. It can't be one that's already diseased. So if you have one that needs a filling and your mouth hits the steering wheel of your car in an accident and it breaks that tooth, then Aflac won't pay for it, because the dentist will say, oh, it had some decay and it was decayed this amount, and so then Aflac will say, oh, that wasn't a healthy tooth. But if it is a healthy tooth and you break a tooth, or you need a crown, or you need one pulled out, you would get a benefit for that, which can help against your dental bills, and it's kind of a nice benefit. At least I think it is. Broken bones are anywhere from $100 to $2,750, and concussions are $100 every time you have a concussion. Then down here, if you pass away in an accident, you can see those benefits there, and you can see that it does have a wellness benefit of $60 once per calendar year. That's not per person, it's just once per calendar year. It could be anybody in your family if everybody's on the policy. But if you think that you've got it like the cancer policy, that's not right. It's just $60 once per calendar year. Then it has all of these other benefits. The organized sporting activity benefit is a great one, because they increase 25% of the benefits, limited to $1,000 per policy per calendar year, if you are participating in an organized sporting activity. So something that has a referee and keeps a score, and it doesn't have to be for profit. It can be, it doesn't have to be, but as long as you've got a scorekeeper and a referee or an umpire or some, the person that does the judging, then it will pay an additional 25%. Some other options that we do have available are the critical illness policy, which is a lot like the Plus Rider, but it's a full policy like the cancer. And we do have dental, we do have hospital indemnity, life insurance, and vision. The two that will pay right now, people are really kind of concerned about that COVID, and the short-term disability and the hospital indemnity are two that will pay for benefits for hospital stays if you have the COVID and you have that note from the doctor that says you need to miss work. So keep that in mind. Also, there's some of them, the hospital indemnity will pay additional benefits for babies. But with babies, you do have to have those two, the hospital indemnity and the short-term disability, for 10 months or longer. So you need to pick it up, and then 2 months after that, at least 2 months after that, you could start trying. If you have never had a baby, or if you know that you have preemies, just know that you also would need to take that into account and pick it up early enough that you would have it for 9 months. And 10 months before a baby's born.